Hey guys.
Hola! Happy Monday! Hope everybody had an awesome Easter. It's Jess and Melissa with Bodify, and today we are excited to have Aestheticare with us. They're going to be joining in a minute. They're a top account for cool sculpting and a whole slew of other amazing aesthetic procedures and products, and they're just going to be talking to us about what they're doing right now, what their plans are for the future, and some major insights that they've had during this time that they plan to carry forward. So we're excited to have them in, and of course, thanks for joining us.
Very cool. Yay, Aestheticare is on. They just need to send us a request to join, and we'll
maybe accept you. We'll see.
What did you do yesterday? We don't have kids, so no Easter egg hunts or...
No, but I love people's creativity. I've been seeing the best things for people. One of our coworkers, she apparently hides money in Easter eggs every single year. And so this year she hid Easter eggs throughout her yard, but she didn't put any money in them. So the joke was on her 22 and 19-year-old kid, I think, which was awesome.
Very cool. All right, let's see. Oh, look at all these people. It says,
yay, we're excited.
I don't see the request button. You think after doing so many of these we would figure it out, but...
So if you hit our Bodify Academy live, if you hit that, then it'll pop up and it'll say that you should be able to request to join.
Let's see.
Go live.
Go live. Here, I just asked you.
And then you should be able to get.
Yay!
There we are.
We can run multiple.
This took us a minute.
Getting all this alive is a little challenging.
I know. We should have had our 17-year-old daughter. You know, they know how to do all this stuff better.
I know. It's true. I have some cousins, too. And they're like, oh, beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, and then it's done.
Good to see you guys. How are you guys surviving this little crisis we're having?
Well, I think it's ups and downs, and some days are better than others. How about you guys?
You know, I think with all things considered, I think it's going well. I know that's kind of strange to say, but, you know, I think I learned, it was way different, but I learned a lot back in 08 and 09.
Yeah, share some of that.
You know, because we opened up in 2001, and we had the economy's really, you know, we opened up actually right at night. I mean, a month before 9/11 happened.
Oh, wow.
So that was a tough time. But then, you know, I don't know if you remember, there's a really kind of a big, nice, strong economy up until 08. And then the big crash happened. And it was different because obviously we were still able to work. But boy, a lot of people lost jobs. A lot of people lost money, and things slowed down. And I think it taught us a lot of how to handle a crisis like this. So I think we were prepared.
Well, too, in 07 and 08, you know, I was living in Phoenix, and a lot of the medical spas didn't make it.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's been some tough times. You know, it was harder in Arizona just because of the housing crisis and then the economy crisis. And so, but we're still married, so that's a positive. You know, we made it through quarantine so far. So
I know spending 23 and a half hours a day together is really testing her patience.
That's awesome. So obviously, were there any, you know, big insights? I think a lot of people that are watching, maybe they've been through a crisis, maybe they haven't, but were there any, you know, big insights from the 08 crash that you kind of moved forward that have helped you kind of navigate this current one?
Yeah, you know, I think for me, and this even should go back before 08, you know, anybody, and hopefully we'll all learn a lot from this one, but as an individual or a family and as a business, we have to understand these times are going to come. And you think about the last 20 years, we had 9/11, which caused a huge upheaval in the economy. We had 08. Now we've got this. It's going to happen again. Okay. And who knows what the reason. And so to be prepared for it. And, you know, I've always said, you know, as a family, we should be able to live 6 months, you know, and that just takes savings, you know, putting some money away so that you have access to it. And same as a business, you know, because this, like I said, it's going to happen. And so I think what we're grateful for kind of in learning that lesson is we've had enough money put away for our business that we could run it for 6 months with no revenue and still keep all our employees employed and stuff. So,
are you guys Dave Ramsey fans?
I love Dave Ramsey. Live like no one else so you can live like no one else.
Rice and beans, baby. Let's do it.
That's right. So, and I see, you know, and like you guys do a lot of consulting, and we do too. And we've talked to a lot of clinics all around North America. And some of them, it's just like, I mean, they've been in business long enough that they should have some little bit set aside. And they're like, well, I'm $800,000 in debt. We only have $20,000 in our operating account. And it's like, you know, hopefully you'll learn from this that you can't run a business that way. And but I think the biggest thing for us when this hit, obviously this is different because we've never had to just shut down.
Right.
And in Kansas City, where we are, we actually are the mayors in our 4 biggest little communities here, shut everybody down a week before the national government, the federal government did. So we've been shut down for 3.5. Well, it'll be 4 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, we closed our doors on March 18th.
Yeah. So
we were the 23rd, I think.
Yeah. And Arizona hasn't, for a while, you guys weren't hit very hard at all. I know you're getting a little bit more. We're lucky Kansas has been pretty light, but the mayors in our communities have been pretty strict on everything. Mm-hmm. But when it happened, it really we had to powwow and think, okay, now how are we going to handle this? A lot of clinics I talked to just immediately laid off all their staff.
Yeah.
And, a couple things. We did the math on what our staff would make on unemployment. And I'm sure you guys today, it's just terrible. I mean, in Kansas, it caps, no matter how much money you make, the most you can make on unemployment is $388 a week.
$488.
I'm sorry, $488 a week. And a lot of our staff would have gotten $390, $400, $410. That's a lot less than they were making. So we decided right away, we're going to keep everybody employed. And
you guys have a lot of staff too. How many people do you have?
We have, for our main clinic, aesthetic care, we have 26, but we have about 40, including Mint Aesthetics and then our smaller clinic in Lawrence.
Well, we were about to open up another clinic.
Yeah, we were right. I mean, we were a day away from signing the lease of opening up another clinic. The good news
is your lease terms will be way better. We're having the same thought. We're like, opportunity.
Well, and for you all too, because you all, last year opened up your North clinic?
Yeah, so May 14th, I think, was our 1 year.
That's awesome.
And I understand that was going very well, huh?
It was. We were laughing. Our last year in May, we did $500,000, and this year, who knows if we'll do any.
Yeah, that's a big
drop.
You're
smiling about it.
but like you said, I think that especially people listening to this podcast that are in the aesthetic space, margins are good. Right? I mean, I've been listening to some people who own coffee shops and they run on a 3% margin. And so I understand their kind of dilemma in having these huge reserves. But I really think for anybody in our business, you just got to do the right things and put that money aside. So when a crisis comes up, you can look at it entirely differently. Yeah. If I couldn't pay my bills, if I couldn't pay rent right now, I'd not be laughing about going from $500,000 to zero.
Right.
I'd be in tears.
Yeah.
But because we prepared for things and we can kind of weather those storms and come out stronger. So I love that you guys are in the same position and that you've been able to take care of your staff, because at the end of the day, that's absolutely incredible, and that's who's helped you build aesthetic care.
And I'm assuming you guys are taking part of the PPP program.
We are, and we are very fortunate. One thing we've been talking, I've done a number of webinars for other companies and talking about having a good relationship with a local mobile bank that can react quickly has been so amazing. We have so many people who work with the big national banks, and they're struggling. They're not getting answers, nothing. Our banker literally calls us every day and started that from day one. And we got our applications in, we got them and approved and funded. I mean, we're already funded.
Really? Wow.
It was lightning fast.
We were shocked how fast. I mean,
how long did it take you from application submission and then the funding?
Well, from the time, so, this is being run through banks, as you know.
Right.
And so this bank came out with its own form, which we filled out, and we got that information. We had 3 businesses to fill it out for, but it was very simple. It was very easy. Yeah. You just had to look at historical payroll and rent and healthcare. And then the new one came out. A lot of the same questions, that there's some additional things. But we got that on a Monday. We had it all filled out right away. And by Thursday, we were funded.
Yeah, and the 3 companies have funded separately. Yeah. So one came in really quick, and then the other 2 are kind of
a day after.
Yeah, it took a little bit longer, but it was really fast.
But the value of having, and this is something that I think, again, when we think about learning, I have to say, a really good banker that you get to know and you build trust, they understand your business, access, or a good lawyer who understands business law. And one of our best friends, who's also a lawyer, is a senior partner in a law firm that specializes in nothing but employee stuff, business. And so, he kept us up to speed. And those 2 relationships have been really valuable to us.
100%. And I think at the 2, you need to give yourselves credit. I mean, I know businesses that are struggling because they don't even know where to get their IRS 940 or their 941 or their pay. And it's like, how can you operate a business when you literally do not know your numbers, or you don't know the resources that you have to go out and get the information you need? I mean, same thing. It's like, we flipped a switch and we were able to talk to our people and we had all the information we needed to submit. And as they know, there's only a certain amount of money right now. And right now it's first come, first serve. Hopefully that amount grows.
And it got hit hard. And, the other relationship for us that's been important is our accountant. We have a very good accountant that every month provides us detailed financials, and we were able to email him right away, hey, we need this, this, and this, and boom, it was right there.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, a lot of the clinics that are out there, you have the owner who's also the doctor, who's also the manager, who's also runs payroll, who, and I think those are probably the most difficult situations where they were doing so much because maybe they were brand new or a number of different reasons. And I think those tend to be the ones that have the hardest time.
Well, and the other thing, I got an email this morning from a friend of ours. She's a consulting client out of Colorado. She's a wonderful human being. And she said, well, now what do I do? Because I laid off my employees, but now I want to get the PPO loan. And I told her, I said, you need to talk to somebody who understands this, because the whole idea of this program is to keep businesses from laying people off. Mm-hmm. And if you've already laid them off, and she goes, can I retroactively pay them? And, that's somebody you need to have a relationship somewhere that can give you that advice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those bills are not easy to read through. I listened to a CPA the other day who's a good friend of mine, and he's like, I literally am reading this 800-page document, and it's mind-numbing.
Yeah.
And obviously, as lay people, there's a lot to be misinterpreted or misunderstood that could end up resulting in you not getting that forgiveness on the back end. Because I think that's where more of the work is going to be. It's not necessarily getting that money up front, but it's ensuring that it's forgiven on the back end.
Well, and the other thing that I've been telling people is, listen, this is not a time to go further in debt if you can, because you're not going to open your doors and have the best year ever. I mean, hopefully we do, but we can't plan on that. And so for clinics that were barely making anyway, and now they're borrowing more money, they're putting tons of money on their credit cards, lines of credit, man, you've got to you have to have a plan to pay that back. And again, like you said, if, keeping good records of how we use this money, payroll, rent, healthcare, those things we know we can get forgiveness from. But to take this money, and for some of us, it's a pretty big chunk of money, and spend it on things that then it turns into a loan. It's not a grant. And then you got to figure out, hey, I got to pay that back.
Right. No, and speaking of a plan, something Melissa and I wanted to talk to both of you about, just because we have tremendous respect for the marketing, the initiatives, the events that you guys hold. I think, everyone goes through stages in a crisis, and initially you might be kind of shock and depression, or, oh my gosh, how are we going to wrap our minds around this? But I really feel like now it's about the recovery. Mm-hmm. So what are we all planning to do when those doors open? So it's not doors open and now I'm trying to get people back in, but it's, hey, weeks before the doors open, what type of things are we doing to make sure that our phones are ringing and, our employees are fully booked and all that? So any ideas that are percolating for you both?
Well, I think there's a number of things that we're doing. I think number one is just continuing the communication with our team and our clients so that they know we're alive, we're doing great, our team's doing great, we're learning, we're growing. One of the things that we've started to do with our team since we have kept them employed is to just continue education while they're at home. So we've started a little book club, and that's been really fun. I mean, we've done, we're choosing books, of course, that have to do with our business and customer service. And the ideas that they've brought back to us have been just amazing. Inspiring. It's been so fun.
It's been really great that you could recommend.
Well, I would tell you, we start off in, I loved it, Secret Service. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
That is such a phenomenal book about customer service and business. I would put it right up there with the Nordstrom Way. That's another one that we make all our employees read. But what was nice is, we're making them do book reports. And it's so funny. Our nurse said, I haven't done book reports since college, And
it doesn't have to be formal book reports. We're just like,
but keep them engaged.
What are your takeaways? How can we do this? How are you going to implement it? What can we do to implement your ideas? And so
we got a list. I bet you we have a list of 20 new things that we are going to implement based on the feedback that we got from them. The next book we did, and it's almost a pamphlet. It's only 50 pages, but it's called The Go-Getter. And a couple different companies we've worked with in the past assign that, but it's about overcoming obstacles and what you can do to outwork your competition. And we got some great, and that one we just said the first book, Secret Service, said, what can we do as a clinic? Ideas. The Go-Getter, we said, no, what can you as an individual do to make yourself better at the job? And so those are the two. We're going to sign another book this week. And then the other thing is, we have our Mint e-courses, which is a video series of learning. We're going and reviewing all of those, assigning, I think, 3 a week. And we're having a lot of, Instagram like Zoom and GoToMeeting calls. We had a happy hour with our staff last Friday. I think, what Kathy said is just keeping the communication line really open. Because we are paying them, we can have them work. We can tell them, hey, you have to do this. You're getting paid. And then the other thing is a lot of stuff like you're doing with your clients. So we're doing a lot of Instagram, a lot of Facebook, and then for Mint Aesthetics as well as aesthetic hair. And then we've kind of done some fun things on the retail side. Tell them about the...
Oh, yeah. So, going back to what kind of our plan for reopening, because, of course, our whole marketing plan has changed for this month and the next few. Mm-hmm. But we are still planning to have our big party in September. We are going to continue to plan for some of the big things that we will do if possible. But for now, looking at, how to market, what to do, we decided to launch an online store. So that was something we hadn't done before. We've discussed it for a long time. He didn't want to do it.
I was wrong.
Like, let's just do it. It's not going to hurt.
She loves that. I was wrong.
And so our marketing director, Karen, started us off we launched Aesthetic Hair's medical brand, so our private label brand. And that's all we started with. But she did a phenomenal job. She built it all out herself. We had our front desk manager started a kind of a little mini shipping area because, again, we're closed down. Nobody's here except for us in the office right now. And so within, 12 to 24 hours, we had sold about $7,500, and we had never done it before, so $7,500 was pretty incredible and better than zero. And then we did a quarantine facial. So one of our
did you see that? Yeah,
Chrissy did such a great job.
Did you guys see that video?
Yeah, no, it was awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah, and so two of our estheticians, Jennifer and Chrissy, just took that idea. They came up with it. They developed it. They filmed it. They got everything to Karen to post. And so, they just did such an amazing job, and it wasn't anything that we did. They just took it and ran with that idea. And so we've done $5,000
in 48 hours. 5,000.
That's awesome. You haven't found anything with cool sculpting, right? That you can.
Yeah, a mobile cool sculpt. Just come to your house.
We did have a client that wanted us to start doing drive-up Botox. I see all the funny posts about that. But maybe drive up, open the car door, stick it on.
Yeah.
So I just want to circle back to, because one of the first times I ever heard you speak, Matt, I loved this concept that you said, look, there are doctors, there are spa owners out there who are willing to spend $100,000, $200,000 a machine, yet they won't invest in their freaking team. And so I think something that you guys have in your DNA, and it's showcasing, with what you're doing right now, is investing in your team and giving them the tools and resources to be successful. And when you've done that, look at what they're coming up with on their own, right? Because you've empowered them. Yeah. It's not, hey, we're dictators and we have the best answers. It's let's collaborate and figure out solutions, and some great stuff has come out of it.
Well, hopefully we're smart enough to understand that we're not the smartest, okay? And, you want all your staff to feel like their opinions matter and their ideas matter. It feels really good when you work for somebody and that company implements 1 year of your ideas. But what you said is so true. I still to this day, we've worked with over 1,500 clinics, and I'd say 80% of them are just undertrained. Yeah. And, one of the best things, obviously, to blow a little wind up your skirts is that we sent our whole staff to you for a day. And you guys aren't cheap. We're not cheap either in our stuff. But, we took what you guys are so good. You're about the best there is in cool sculpting. And we're now the number 4 largest cool sculpting center in the country. But a lot of that is that saying, listen, if there's somebody out there like you who are so good at what you do, why don't I want to learn that? My ego's not big enough to say, oh, I don't need them. No, I'm happy to pay. And all the money we spend on training, and we budget in our clinic, just in our Leawood clinic, we budget $60,000 a year for advanced training.
Everyone hear that? $60,000 for training.
Just for training.
Yeah.
But we look at that as marketing, because it is marketing. Because the better we get at performing treatments, the better results we get, the more referrals we get. It is marketing. And I can't tell you how many clinics we work with. We'll walk in, we'll work with them, they're struggling. I said, well, tell me in the last 2 years, how much have you spent in training? 0. And I'm like, you guys, you're missing the boat here.
Well, some of them will buy a piece of technology, and 5 years later, they find us to help them do to do some training with them. And they've never 5 years, never had additional training other than what the manufacturer provided when they dropped off the laser. It's just, it's shocking.
No, it's true. people are so good at being like, there's not answers out there, and this technology sucks, or this industry sucks. And I once had a mentor be like, if someone in your industry is winning, the industry doesn't suck, you suck, and go learn from the best. And it's like you said, Matt, being able to lessen that ego and just say, hey, I don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to have all the answers. I just have to be willing and open to finding out what's going to work best, and then getting the resources that allow you to do that.
I love that.
Yeah. How has your Mint aesthetics done during this time period? Have you felt like an uptick in people investing while they're home and their staff? Or
Well, she's done some pretty cool stuff.
Well, over a year ago, we started an online course. So it's all of the business consulting that we were doing face-to-face. It's the laser training and things. We don't do cool sculpting, which is why we send everyone to you. But so we started this online program, and it's a yearly subscription. And when we started, we had 3 clinical courses and 3 business courses, and now we've doubled that over the last 12 months, so that there's a number of different courses there. So no matter what technology you have, there's something there, maybe just injectables for you to use in the clinical piece. But the business side, I think is relevant to everyone. And so this last week we thought, it was just really trying to give back, just like we are at Aesthetic Care, trying to find ways to give back. And so we decided to do a free trial Thursday. So you can log on, and instead of having to pay the subscription fee, you can give access to your entire team to learn. This Thursday, it's our consultation, 9-step consultation that Matt does a great job teaching. And so for 24 hours, you have access to that consultation, and there's some steps in it in the email when you get it to say, okay, make sure your team knows, you log on first, show your team how to get through it, plan a time for your team to be on it so that you can really utilize those 24 hours that you have access to it. And so every Thursday we're launching, or we're doing a different course, just out there for free for people to have access to while they're all at home. And I think that's one of the biggest things that will come out of this for Mint is that, we're not going to be traveling as much for work after this for a while anyway. People aren't going to want to come to Kansas City, right away and get on an airplane. And so, just having a tool to be able to get some of that training at home. And so we have seen an uptake in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, concept that is really true is momentum is hard to build and easy to lose. And so I think especially during times like this, like it's really easy to just sit at home and kind of get entrenched in this, like, oh my gosh, the world's falling apart.
Yeah.
And so baby steps such as doing your course or just reading, having a book club or doing anything to just keep people in motion is going to parlay into when those doors open so much better than if people are completely unplugging and being doomsayers during this time.
Well, I think, what we really want to portray to our geographic area is that we're doing fine, we're strong, and we're going to come back better. And so we've also set up something on our website, and we want people to nominate heroes. And so all these nurses and doctors and police and people who cannot quarantine, we're getting, and you should see all the submissions we're getting, and they will bring tears to your eyes. They're so good.
They're so good.
And so initially we said, we're going to pick one winner a week, and we're announce it. And when this is over, they're going to come in, they're going to get a $250 treatment for free. And then we've reached out to some other business partners, a clothing boutique, a jewelry store, a shopping district, who now are also starting to donate. And so we said, screw it, we got to do more than one a week. So now, because they're so good, we've won a nurse from Kansas City who volunteered to go to New York and work there, and her family. These things are so amazing. And so we get on Instagram, on Facebook and stuff, we announce the winners and tell their story. And we've got a really, some good feedback from them or from on that. So we want to stay relevant. We want to keep our name out there that when our doors reopen, we're going to be fine and we're going to be strong. And the other thing is, planning, and in my mind, and I may be wrong, I'm kind of thinking mid-May-ish is when we'll start to get back to some normalcy. But our belief is, I think we're going to have 4 to 8 weeks where we're going to be crazy busy. Just all the people who missed appointments and just the calls we're getting. But then, as you guys know, it's summertime, then it drops a little bit anyway. And then some people have been hurt financially. So I don't think we can just assume, we were fortunate. And I think the thing that we're most proud of is we've been open for 19 years, and every year has been our best year. We've just grown every year. And in the first 3 months, 2.5 months of 19, we were 31% ahead of 31% ahead of 19. It was just so busy, and I don't think we can just assume we're going to pick right up and do that, because I think there is going to be a little bit of a downturn. We have to be ready for that.
And I think the mental fortitude and knowing that, as long as the numbers they always have a story, but if you understand the story, then I think it's much easier to accept it. Because same thing, otherwise it's like, oh my gosh, why has this happened? What's going on? We're not higher. But I think, again, if you know the whys behind it, then you just get to be better and stronger.
Yeah.
I think that, to kind of parlay off what you guys were talking about for reopening, we met with our business coach last week. And yes, Bodify has a business coach. We always believe that there's people outside of you that just, can kind of get over your blind spots and help look at your business in a new way. But Melissa can share a few of the ideas that he had. Some of them are giving back component and some are, VIP clients and some other things. But we have some good ideas that we're excited about launching as well.
Yeah, it's just kind of this whole reemergence campaign. What are we going to do? What can we do now to prep? May was going to be our 1-year anniversary for our North Scottsdale location. And so it's like, how do we kind of change the tune of that and the verbiage of it so that, it's kind of like a re-grand opening, having a marketing campaign where because we don't really ever do a sale. We do a sale one time a year. So it's like a text message, it's a voicemail drop, it's email blasts and, getting the cadence of all of that set up. I mean, people are going to be feeling fat, unfortunately. They've been sitting on their couches and the fridge is staring up at their face and wanting to do things for themselves.
Yeah, and I think also reaching out to our VIP clients. So for us, we kind of have a threshold, and yes, it's monetary of, hey, if you've invested this much, then you're in a different category. Reaching out to those people and giving them, priority in scheduling, but also a nice price break, I think, is going to be helpful too. And then similar to what you guys are doing, but I kind of want to swipe and deploy your idea and get it going faster, is special discounts for people that were in essential businesses during this time.
Yeah.
So
I think that, one thing we've learned, the more active we become in Kansas City, the busier we get. And I mean, active with charities, somehow being out there. It was really nice. About a couple months ago, I ran into a client of ours at a grocery store, and she said something really nice. She said, I want to compliment you. She goes, virtually every charity auction I'm at, you're at. And she goes, we see you everywhere, and we love the fact that you're so active in Kansas City. And we're a small local business, and there's enough people out there who do enjoy helping local businesses, especially if you can show that, you're a business with a heart and you care about the community. And so we're doing a lot of work with, probably the biggest one is an abuse center a center for abused women and children. And we've partnered up with them on so many different things. And then, but a bunch of different charities. And then you get to know the board members, you get to know the donors, and listen, we want to do it because it's a good thing. But let's be honest, it's just good for business. It's a really good PR. When people see you out there helping, it makes a big difference.
And I think we're all in a unique situation too, because a lot of people who are asked to donate, it's physical money. Yeah. And in our scenario, yes, there's a cost for the consumable, a cost for the time, but we can give something worth $3,400 of value, but it costs us, $400 or whatever it is. And so I think we have a unique ability to really benefit and raise money for people without having to actually necessarily change that monetary amount.
Well, no, you're right. And we happen to have things that most people find kind of intriguing. I mean, cool sculpting, Botox, lasers, hydrofacials. Most people are kind of, I kind of like that.
I know. My sister's hairdresser has been asking me for years to dye my hair, and this crisis is giving me gray hair. So I'm like, finally, have me.
You're just getting gray hair?
What?
Well, she's only like 28 years old. Now, another thing that's been kind of fun is, so a week ago, obviously there's nobody at our clinic, but Kathy and I, haven't you guys found it's kind of crazy how much we have to do about a business that's closed? I mean, it's like, gosh, how can we be this busy? But she did 3 treatments on my face. She did plasma pen, she did a halo, and she did BBL a week ago. And so over the weekend, I just peeled. And so we've been on showing people, and I've got all kinds of stuff. Okay, what'd you do? How much did that cost? And so, one thing I was just talking with my manager, once we kind of get a date that we feel comfortable with, hopefully maybe that week before, have some of the staff come in, treat themselves, and every day show that, here's what I did. Here's, just to show those, people, as you all know so much, they love before and after. And so it'd be a great way just to use ourselves as a marketing tool.
And you said something real quickly that I think we don't want to just kind of step on over. Answer your damn phone.
Oh.
I heard a statistic the other day, and I don't know if they're just like putting their head in the sand or deciding we're closed so no one's calling. It's like a ridiculous percentage of businesses are not answering their phone right now. And like you said, if you want to create this perception that we're thriving, we're committed, we're a company of heart, the last thing you need to do is be completely off the map. for weeks or months.
Yeah.
Answer the darn phone, even if it's just to connect and say we're not open. But it's crazy to me how many phones are going to voicemail right now. It's like, well, I don't know.
And emails, and one thing, so at our clinic here in Leawood, we have 11 providers, and all of them, a minimum, got 10 clients to keep in touch with. Phone calls, text messages, handwritten thank you, or just checking in, stuff like that. Again, because you to 11, and some of them are doing way more than 10, but it's probably about 150 people that are getting communication from us. And like it's our top clients and we just want to make sure that, they know that we are thinking of them. And the other thing, and it's going to happen, I mean, I don't think it'll happen as much as it happened in 2008, but we're going to lose some competitors.
Yeah.
And even bad clinics have clients.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I think we actually had positive growth in 2008, 2009 is we got a lot of new clients from clinics that just weren't strong enough financially to make that. So yeah, it's so I think that's something that we should probably assume is going to happen. So again, the more visible we can stay, if a place that I'm going closes down, I'm going to look for another place, and we want to be that place.
And so many people right now are struggling with the marketing aspect. Do I keep marketing? Do I not? And Melissa and I've always said there's marketing that costs money, right? We pulled our radio. I'm not going to spend $11,000 marketing on the radio right now when people cannot come in and do consultations. But this is marketing, right? Everything that you said, donating to charities, reaching out to clients, using email blasts, voicemails, Instagram, Facebook, those are all really free with the exception of time.
Yep.
But they're exceptional marketing tools. And so all these people who just want to retreat, you just can't stand still. I mean, when you open a business, it is so hard to open. Like, why would you stop those trains from going down the track right now? Especially when you're up 30%, for the first 2.5 months. That's momentum you want to grip onto.
Well, it's funny, and I think it's same marketing. Warren Buffett always says, buy when other people are selling, sell when other people are buying. And a lot of people just, what you said, they're holding up and they're kind of dead.
They're fearful.
Yeah, but I said, so we have a lot of competitors. They're not marketing at all. So who's going to get the attention? The ones that are marketing. So hopefully, again, it's staying relevant.
And I think in terms of that relevance too, it might be changing your message, right? So the message that we usually have planned for this month is not going to work. People feel differently, and I think there's a respectful way to do it. But at the end of the day, people buy emotionally and justify logically. So we're going to have to craft a message that is going to reach people for where they are at based on what's going on that inspires them to take action with Bodify.
Exactly. No, you're right on. Well, and you do want to be respectful that people are scared and maybe struggling financially, that it's not the marketing. Spend money. Right. It's like what we do. So we're doing 2 Facebook and Instagram live events every week, and it's more educational. We always started with, hey, we recognize, we're in this with you. We're going through the same things that you're going through. And then, then we go into an educational piece instead of like So we did one on neurotoxin fillers. We did one on cool sculpting and some tissue tightening and BBL halo. And so, microneedling. We're just basically almost like teaching a class. And because one thing we do know is people have time on their hands. 100%. And what do they say? The viewership on the internet now is like almost double what it normally is, and Netflix and all this stuff. So, all just.
He wants to be a talk show host anyway, so that's a perfect outlet.
Well, it's becoming a subject matter expert too, right? I mean, I think being in the world that we're in, often we assume that people, they don't want to hear about cold sculpting anymore. They don't want to hear about BBL and Halo. It's like they know it. Well, guess what? They don't. Most people who are wanting to do these services are kind of at the beginning stage of that funnel, which is awareness and education. And that's the perfect opportunity to start forging that relationship and your credibility. So then when things change, you're the one that they want to do business with.
Well, think about this. I was talking about this stat when I give talks. The number one most popular non-surgical or surgical cosmetic treatment in the country is by far, it's Botox, neurotoxins, Botox Dysport. Only 3.5% of the country's ever tried the most popular treatment, which means 96.5% of the people have, a lot of them have heard it. But, cool sculpting obviously is getting more and more name recognition and stuff. Sure. And I would say behind Botox, it's probably the second most recognizable treatment around. But most people, they've heard the word, but they don't understand the science. They don't understand what's going on. And and then the internet can be our worst enemy. They say, oh my God, look at that horrible picture of that person. And then look at all the real housewives of every county, and they all look like, ugh. And so that's something, the better we can teach in a realistic manner, that I think the more people respect the fact that we're not all about just hype. you know, and you guys know, because, you know, you guys are such experts in cool sculpting, it's really the only non-surgical body thing that is consistently good and permanent. The heat devices just don't work very well. And, but knowing that, you know, people like doing business with experts. So when you can speak in a way that you truly understand this, it makes a big difference, because a lot of your competition and our competition, they're not true experts.
No. And I go to a lot of different websites, and I think one of the big initiatives people can take right now with their own website is looking at your FAQs and recognizing that's a gold mine, not only to become the expert, to also start building that face-to-face relationship. And so I always tell people, if nothing else, start creating videos for every FAQ. Make sure you have subtitles, because people often watch a video in silence, but will read the subtitles, and just start building your own brand, because that is absolutely what you want. Because what that allows, if people trust Melissa and I in Bodify, it doesn't matter if it's cool sculpting or if it's cool tone or if it's some other technology that we've vetted. Once that's brought in our four walls, people trust us, so they're going to trust the technology, and it's not as hard to, you know, increase that revenue with other, you know, products and services, which you guys have done brilliantly, because you offer several, yet you do incredibly well.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you can, at the end of the day, I don't care if it's your landscaper or your doctor or whatever, if you really like somebody and you really trust somebody, there's a really good chance you're going to give them your business. So we do need to be likable, and we need to be credible. We need to be true, you know. It's just, and knowing that so few of our competitors will put in the amount of effort that you two have or that we have, the cream will always rise to the top. And what you two are so brilliant. I mean, one, your website's fantastic, but, you know, I don't know if I've ever seen a clinic that does better client communication than you all do. And the way it's so planned out, I mean, believe me, it's better than we do. And so that's why we always tell people.
Buy, die, or unsubscribe, right? No.
But I mean, I tell you, you know, we speak between the two of us at about 40 conferences a year. And there's so many, if all the people we told to come see you, you guys would be packed. But, you know, so many just won't spend that money. And it's just done there. Oh, God, that's too expensive. I go, no. You know, go to Bodify. What is that? 2 cool sculpting clients, you know, or 3. I mean, look at it that way. Am I going to increase by 2 or 3 clients by doing this? And I'm sure people say the same thing. Oh, I'd love to go to Mint, but that's a lot of money. It's like, come on, you know, this is really good money to spend.
No, I think it'll be interesting with the whole virtual consultations and now maybe even virtual trainings to see if
you guys are ahead of that curve.
Yeah, you guys are way ahead of that curve. But for us and for you, if you can do more quote unquote site visits, but you do them virtually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there'll be a time when people are a little bit hesitant to hop on a plane and stuff. Hopefully that's going to fade.
I think too, you know, one of the things that we've had issues with in the past in trying to go to meetings or Zoom calls with some of our consulting or training clients is that a lot of times they've never used it before. Yeah. So it was awkward. They didn't know how to turn their camera on. They, you know, it was just like they were hesitant to do a call that way. And I really think, I mean, after this, everybody's going to be used to it.
It's
so
got to
I
be
think
like
it's going to be great for
word
that.
of 2020 is Zoom.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about, Kathy, for you is I just feel like you've been so intentional about the experience that, you know, I know Mint and I know Aesthetic Care, I don't know the one in Lawrence, but have created. And something and a question that we often get is, well, experience doesn't really matter. People aren't loyal. And I've always said people aren't loyal to brands, they're loyal to an experience. You know, and studies have shown that 56% of people will pay more for an elevated experience, hence, you know, the Four Seasons and Motel 6. But talk to us a little bit just about, you know, your experience with focusing on the experience and how you feel that's built loyalty and a steady stream of income and, you know, help through crises too.
Yeah, you know, I think with experience and, you know, obviously a lot of that, the training piece is built into that as well. But, you know, we've really been looking at aesthetic care over the last few years and the experience. And Matt's always been such a proponent of like amazing customer service. And a few years ago, we worked with this stylist at Nordstrom's, and we talk about her a lot because, I mean,
she was the bane of my existence.
She was amazing, obviously,
yes.
Right? She was obviously amazing.
Hey, Matt, it's Groundhog Day. I bet you your wife would love this, and this. And I'd go and she'd have whole room set. She was so good at her job that all she did was cost money.
I swear, and I still try. She doesn't work with Nordstrom's anymore because she's had 2 kids now. And whenever I see her or see one of her friends, I'm like, if she's ever looking for a job, we want her. How do we get her? We want her here. But, you know, we're always looking at experiences that we have, whether it's through travel or shopping or wherever it is, to say, wow, they really did that great. How can we implement that in aesthetic care? And so we really try to look at it from a perspective of, what happens when our phones are answered. How is the phone call answered? And it really all does. Once you've paid for the marketing and you get them to call, or you get them to the website, what is that first initial experience like? And so, we look at our business just from that first minute that they call to the moment they walk out, and then the follow-up that they're getting after that. And, it's one of the reasons why we've got them reading the books during this downtime, is to elevate that experience again. And so, some of my favorite things with it has been looking at, how to create that kind of Nordstrom-like feel. So this year, over the past year and a half, really, we've developed more of an experienced person who oversees, starts with our top clients, and then looking at things like, being able to implement their favorite drink, which is what she did at Nordstrom's, being able to.
You all do.
Yeah. And I keep telling them we need a coffee shop. That's my next thing with our building. Hopefully, like, she would walk up with my coffee, like my favorite coffee drink.
She
it's
wants
amazing. I think I do want a coffee shop. But really looking at the not only the experience that we try to create for everyone, but for the individual. So, somebody that wants to be able to zoom in and out really quickly versus somebody that would like to, chat with you all day long. They're two different people, two different personalities, and really looking at, how do you tailor to both of those types of personalities and many more than that. So, I think we could do a podcast or a talk just on the experiences and how you develop that. But I think you really got to look at your business from your marketing to the phone call, to the process, to the follow-up, and how you get better at that every year. And another favorite thing of mine that Matt implemented this a couple of years ago was like gifts during Christmas to our top clients. And one of the gifts we did was $500 on their account. Mm-hmm. And so he personally called each one of them and told them that they had this money. And really, you would have thought it was like giving them a car.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Oprah, you get a car and you get a car, they were just, and they may have spent $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 that year for many years in a row. And yet $500 just, and that personal call was such an amazing gift. And I think, there's so many things like that we can do that don't cost us a lot of money, but that elevate the experience. And then they do keep coming back.
Yeah. And this year, like for our top 25, this year was fun. We got 25 Nespresso machines, and we have somebody who's just a great rapper. She wrapped them beautifully. And then we had our staff hand deliver them to their house. Oh. And so those are things, I've always thought, how can you be different? And one thing that stuck out to me, this is years ago, I was doing a training, I was doing a laser training. This is back in early 2000s in St. Louis. And it was a med spa, day spa combination. And you walked in, you went to the left for the med spa, right for the day spa. And we couldn't do this because we're not day spa, but every new client that came in, as they were filling out the paperwork, somebody would come and give them a foot scrub and massage while they were filling out the paperwork. And I thought, boy, that's something that would stand with you. Like, you'd remember, it's like, God, it was amazing. So we always think about what can we do that's going to make people go, man, that was over the top. And actually, that Secret Service book that Matt talked about earlier talks a lot about that. The guy that wrote it owned a lot of really high-end salon day spas. Yeah, John Roberts. And so he has a lot of great ideas for things like that.
And something for people to keep in mind, ourselves included, is when someone walks into your business, they are judging that experience not on every other med spa, but every business they've interacted with.
Exactly.
We get these blinders on, like, as a med spa, what can I do? That's not the right question to ask. As a human, what can I do? When I go into a laundromat, when I go into a gas station, when I go into a car wash station, and, Melissa and I routinely have the girls either go out and do consultations at other practices, or just say, hey, in the next week, I want you to think of an experience that blew you away and one that really was off-putting. And talking about those and then being able to adapt and evolve them to make sense for us.
It's very smart. Well, listen to this. We just had an experience of customer service that blew us both away. So Kathy's birthday's coming up. She's going to have a quarantine birthday, April 25th.
I'm going to be 29.
But I always like to plan a little fun trip on her birthday, and we were doing Virgin Atlantic created their first cruise ship, and it just this, Richard Branson is over the top with everything, and we were excited about it, and obviously it's canceled, and we wouldn't want to be on a cruise ship anyway. But this guy calls us. Kathy was there, we were on speakerphone, and I'm not telling you, this was so amazing. We both, after that call, we're going, oh my God. Think about this. He goes, listen, obviously we're going to give you two options, and he said, if you just cancel, we're going to give you a 100% refund, and we're going to give you $2,000 credit towards your next cruise. Or if you don't cancel but reschedule, the amount that you paid, we're doubling it.
Wow.
And then you should hear how cheerful this guy got a phone, and we're both just happy. And it's like,
you know, those calls where normally you're like, you want to get through it to get off the phone to get to the next thing. And I found myself like enjoying a call. I mean, it was almost like we were friends by the end of that call. And
I wish we could have recorded it.
I just thought, you know, we can, you know, again, do better.
That's what we want to be, though.
Yeah, I think the phone is always, can be a struggle because our front desk, I think it's, you know, we always talk about that's the hardest job in our clinic. They have so many things that they're trying to focus on, get people in, get them out, create this experience, be happy, never be sad, you know, and
deal with difficult people, which we all know we have.
And so, you know, how do we, you know, continue to focus on that and make sure that we elevate that? Because that can be done. You know, there's so many companies that do that. That can be done.
Mm-hmm.
It can. And I think, you know, something that they're illustrating really well is sometimes people like, okay, all the experience is going to go to getting that person. But you had mentioned, as Kathy before, it's not only about that first impression, but then it's about their experience at the office. But not most importantly, but equally as important is once they're done. I mean, people spend all this money to acquire a client and to get them to convert, and then they freaking forget about them. It's like, you know, if you look at number-wise, a repeat client is generally going to spend 10 times more in their lifetime than they did their initial first visit. Mm-hmm. But people are like, oh, new client. How do I wow? And then you're my client. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
So
you'll like in that book, Secret Service, he talks a lot about that, is where your big money is for marketing is existing clients.
Yeah,
it's true.
And something you said that was so brilliant when when I heard you talking, you were talking about gift cards that people got to give away. And it's like, oh, well, that's $20. And it's a freaking form of marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You're allowing that person to come in. And so there's just different ways to look at it. And I think you guys have such ingenuity and a way to kind of think outside the box and not be like, oh, I have to spend X to get Y. It's just, okay, what can we do that adds value? And that's a little bit creative. Talk a little bit about like your yearly event that you do, because it blew my mind about the number of sales you get, but what that actually translates to for most of those clients.
I think every year it shocks us how much it grows. So we started this, you looked at it as kind of an anniversary party, but as we know, and I think more so for us than you, because we do a lot of laser work, the summers do dip down. You know, people they're out in the sun, they don't do as much laser. So we always do the third Thursday of September, and we call it our end of the summer party. And it's really because that's the kickoff to our busier season. From mid-September to May is kind of busier, and then June, July, and August are going to slow a little bit. And so, but we want to make that, you know, so many open houses are just come have a glass of wine and buy something. And we thought, no, let's make it a party that you would never want to miss. And oh, by the way, you can buy something. So, you know, we have a huge tent in the parking lot. We have a Nashville recording artist playing live music. We have beer. We have wine. We have wonderful food. We have vendors all around selling jewelry and clothing and all this fun stuff. We do a lot of giveaways and door prizes. And we have things like fortune tellers or caricature artists. And we make it this, and like you, it's really our only sale of the year, where anything you're going to purchase, you can basically put money on your account and get 20% off. And I have clinics saying, oh, yeah, well, you do a lot of money, but it's 20% off. I said, no. If you spend $2,000 in September, next February, you're not freaked out about it. You spend more. And so this has got.
Just to clarify this piece, because we have worked with so many other clinics that I've gone into their open house, and it's like, buy this, get this, buy this treatment, get this thing, buy this when you get 10%, buy this, it's 5. You know, it's just so confusing. There's so much to try to figure out with what they can get. And so I love how simple this is. And I think it makes a big difference. In that, you know, what's that?
A confused mind does nothing.
Right.
I know.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Yep.
But this year we ended up.
Pricing, it's like, whoa.
Last year we did 1.1 million.
I love that.
Which I didn't think last year we did like 820,000, and I told Seth, I said, I don't think we can ever beat that. And then we did 1.1 million.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did differently this year that our marketing director really pushed for and proved very successful was, you know, prior to this, they could call in, put money on their account. They could come to the party, put money on their account, but we had never offered it online. And part of it was that we liked the conversation we wanted to have the conversation, but you know, what we kept talking about is like, I am the person, it's like, when I want to be able to go, I'm done, and I don't have to think about it again. And so I know there are those buyers that are out there. And so she developed a way for, they could just go online, put money on their account through that process, which we did really well with the online piece.
We did. She sent out the morning after, hey, if you missed the party, here's your last chance. Because we always do it Thursday evening. And so Friday, Saturday, you could go online, and it brought in another 200,000 or something like that. So.
Well, it's law of friction, right? Make it tough for people to do business with you. It's going to be tough to do for people to do business with you. Make it easy, a click of a button. I mean, I read a stat the other day that if you actually have to sign up for the platform when you're trying to buy something, a huge percentage of people abandon the cart. So again, it's what can you do, trusting that people are going to come in, love the experience, and spend more money, that you can make it easy for them to come in that door. So I love that.
It's amazing how many sales we see personally come in when we do something online at midnight or 1 a.m. It's when that person has that feeling they want to buy something, if they can buy it, it's.
Yeah, and I'm not answering the phone at midnight anymore.
It's insomniac marketing. It is. It's marketing to insomniacs. I worked with the clinic in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was the largest it was the largest endovenous laser treatment for leg veins. And he said one of his best marketing he ever did is he would fly once a year to LA. He'd film this 30-minute infomercial. It looked like a talk show. And you wouldn't even know it was an advertisement if you didn't kind of see the little disclaimer. And he ran it on late night cable from midnight to 6 a.m., which is dirt cheap. And he said he was shocked at how many people he got. I'm like, who's watching TV at 2 a.m? But I guess there are people.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Something that I don't want to skip over is that you guys are a married couple. You own a business together. Are there any insights or wisdom or things that you can share, having been in lockdown since May 18th, that's kind of allowed you to, March 18th, that's allowed you to get through this? Because I think a lot of times, Melissa and I are sisters. We own a business together. It can be tough, but we're not living together. Mm-hmm. So would love to hear some of your
your insights.
So the best motto ever for a husband to live by is you have two choices in life with your wife. You can either be happy or you can be right. So I choose happiness.
Mm.
No,
I knew there was a joke coming.
No. You know what?
Happy
I would
spouse,
say,
happy house.
We've been married for about 5.5 years, and she was in this business a long time before I got married, and I was in it for a long time. And so I will tell you, I think the first 1.5 to 2 years, we struggled a little bit just because, we're both fairly opinionated. We kind of have strong personalities. And so I think it took some time. We created a little separation, but for the most part, it works pretty well. She's pretty smart, and she's good looking.
I'm glad you think so. That's all that matters.
And so I think I kind of lucked out on this one. So I try to just wake up every morning and think how lucky I am.
Well, and he does do a great job of that. I think during the lockdown piece, one thing that I've been telling him, because he is definitely more of he's better go with the flow, stay calm, and I get a little wound up. He might say a lot. I probably, somewhere in between of a little and a lot. But for me, it's a lot about, it's just how to get your mind and body in a positive place. And so I know, for me, I know what that means. It's great music. It's go for a run. It's workout. It's listening to great podcasts. It's talking with people like you guys that are so positive and coming up with ideas. And then, and he's always that way. He's just such a positive person. And so I think, if we can both stay in that headspace of positivity, that whether it's, it's like if you have a call with an unhappy client and they come in mean instead of happy, what you want to give them is a different answer. And so I think no matter if it's between the two of us on a personal thing or a business decision, if we can just be in a positive mindset to have that conversation or to figure out that problem, it always ends up better.
Yeah, and I think for me, I knew when I married an older woman that I would really struggle with her. Yeah, everybody got that. That's not true. But I think, exercise is a big thing. We get along so much better when we're both active. Mm-hmm. She can be a little bit stressed out about something and go for a run. And I'm not kidding. She comes back almost a different person. And me too. I'll go, we have a gym in our basement, and we'll give a plug for a product here. Have you guys ever seen the mirror they've advertised? It's called
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm telling you guys, that is so good, especially in a time like this. And I bet you their stock's going to go crazy. Mm-hmm. But it makes a difference when we both focus on trying to be healthy and getting exercise. We're much better. I think when you stop taking care of yourself and stuff, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Tony Robbins fan. I don't know if you guys are, but Matt and I have done business mastery together, and I've gone to a couple of his courses. But you know, he always talks about change your state and change your story. And I think it's so simple, but really if you can change your physiology, if you can get your body moving and get your body doing something positive, your brain changes, your spirit changes, you know, everything kind of follows along, and exercise one way to do that. Other people may choose something else. But I think for us, that's a key.
And the other thing is we talked a little bit and we're both, I don't know what's happening. I'm getting more sappy as I get older. But this involvement we get in kind of giving back and helping people who struggle, I'm telling you, that is like medicine. It really is. I was watching this minister of a church here in Kansas City. I watched a sermon on Easter Sunday. And I bet you it was weird. I almost cried like 4 times of all the things that this church is doing to help people. I mean, they got 250 members of the church to drive their cars to a hospital, a huge hospital here in Kansas City. And they park outside during shift change, and they all make signs. And when the shifts change, they honk their horn, stand just to thank these people for what they're doing. And then they adopted 3 homeless shelters and all this. And you're listening to this, and you know, you think, one, it's a good thing too, but the joy that it gives when you can see that what you're doing is having a positive impact on somebody's life, it just makes your life better.
And I think that's really, you are able to see it that way too because of your alignment, right? I mean, it's like 2 eyewitnesses can observe something completely differently, and it's because of how they are. And so I, agree. I think all I'm seeing now when I look around is that humanity is good. And I know if I get on the news, I hear how humanity is horrible and people are doing X, Y, Z. It's like, that's not what I'm seeing.
No, that's just what the media is. That's what the media is telling us. Yeah. So Luke Bryan has a new song out that I love. He goes, it's called "I Believe Most People Are Good."
Oh, yeah.
And most people are.
I love that. Oh. Yeah, I mean, something Melissa and I, kind of back to what you guys have been going through, is Melissa and I process things very, very differently. Mm-hmm. And so I've had to really respect her process. But that's something else I love about having a partner, is sometimes when I'm up, she's down, and vice versa. And so we can kind of carry each other through those ups and downs. But similar to what you said, I think at the end of the day, it's about love and respecting the other person, and knowing no matter what shows up, if you care more about the relationship than being right,
definitely,
then it can work.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And, listen, I don't care. Any relationship can be tough. There's going to be bumps in the road. I mean, we both tend to think we're right a lot of the times. And there's sometimes you need to, hey, let's take a little space and, like I said, go for a run, get something. And I think if you keep that mindset, a conflict shouldn't last that long. You shouldn't let it simmer. Just deal with it, get it over with, move on. And I think somebody told me something. This was kind of interesting. When I was younger, I went through a divorce, and I remember I reached out to 4 or 5 of my friends who were married, who I looked at and thought, I think that you guys have such amazing marriages, And one of them said, listen, the best thing I could ever tell you about a relationship is always assume the best of somebody. So let's say if she's late, 20 minutes late, should I just get mad? Or should I assume there's a reason, probably a good reason, why she's not doing it just to tick me off?
Right.
And even, in our business, most people are good. We do have our share of clients who, my God, we wish they never knew we existed. But most people, what did they go through that day? What struggle is going on in their life that maybe if you attack their anger with kindness, it works. And luckily we have a manager and assistant manager who are so good at that. And I think we're good at it. Anytime we have an unhappy client, I mean, the minute we hear about it, we call them right away. If we have, we're on the phone, because I think if you're proactive with it, most of the time you can diffuse it and turn it into a victory. There's a few times, obviously, that you can't. But, I think so much is just a positive attitude.
No, and most people aren't willing to call.
She's great.
Had an oversight the other day of someone, and I call, and it's like when you apologize and just say we screwed up.
Yeah.
How can they combat that?
Yeah.
Right.
And we're human beings. We're going to.
We can't change it. What can we do moving forward to rectify this as best we can? And then you're able to do it. And if they're not willing to meet you in the middle with that, then guess what? It's okay.
It's okay. They're probably not somebody that's going to work out anyway. But I think what you said is true. We're human beings. We are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And not everyone is going to get a perfect result. Not everyone's, and sometimes it is them, but sometimes it's us, and we need to fix it. And I think that goes back to maybe getting over your own ego and just understanding, listen, I know it sounds simple. We all talk about it. It's kind of that golden rule. You treat other people like you like to be treated. And if you do that, most of the time it works out.
I agree 100%. You guys have been so fun to have on.
Yeah, you guys are awesome. It's so fun to see your faces and smiles and
virtual kisses and hugs.
Yeah. When we talk, I tell you, seriously, the experience that our staff has had with you has been so positive. And we bring trainers in from everywhere. We send our staff out to trainings all the time. I told you our budget is pretty big for training, and not even close. Yours was the best we've ever done.
You're awesome. Thanks.
Thank you. That means a lot. We
And
appreciate
somehow we
it.
ended up in Spain with you on a wedding before any of this even happened.
I know.
The universe
We
was
literally
bringing us
met in
together.
Yeah.
Small world.